I'm a youth worker in the area. I'm a video maker in the area. I've been on the ground in Grenfell since Grenfell happened every day. I mean, if you analyse what's happening in this area, we call over that hill informally the Republic, the Republic of North Kensington. And I'll tell you why. From the first minute that this happened, the TMO, the council weren't present. Statutory services based themselves out of 2 centres, and we had very little else. An autonomous relief effort came to North Kensington, populated and staffed by a voluntary sector, and just people turning up from all over the country, but predominantly the working class over the hill. And they have continued to do that for 5 weeks now, and these efforts are still being sustained. You still have autonomous relief efforts coming from Bramley's, from Almanar, from Moe, from what is the real community, which is Bramley's, the village, Ackland Village, and the Harrow Club are doing the same thing. The Christian Tabernacle Centre are doing the same thing. So since all of this has happened, we have had the development of self-organisation within this area that has essentially annulled RBKC, who actually have no stature anymore. If you walk around to the other side of the building, they've actually boarded up their customer service space, right? Nothing says it more than the fact that they have actually boarded up the glass on their building where they're supposed to be doing their service, right? This is the reality.
For themselves, not the people.
So, and as it was said, classic neoliberal crisis management saw Paget Brown, Phil de Mellon, and Robert Black ceremoniously resign, but what did they actually do? They still take their salary. These don't think that they can step back, preside over a vacuum, and slowly let their neoliberal crisis management lead them back to normality, but there is no normal after what they've done. There's a whole community that have organised that don't want them back. And on the terms that they want them back, basically, right now there's going to be a number of speeches being given. One of them is going to be given by Save North Kensington Library. Eve Wedderburn is going to say there should be a moratorium on all building within the North Kensington area and a stopping of all the development projects. Right? That is what we should be supporting fundamentally here, right? Pierce Thompson from Save Silchester is going to be giving another speech which will place Grenfell Tower within the regeneration and redevelopment projects that went over a 40-year period that Grenfell stands in. And if people are actually going to do their work, and I know the media are here, we need to start looking at the broader picture here, right? Yes, you've got RBKC Council, yes, you've got the KCTMO, but you've got big developers. You've got the Westway Trust, you've got the third sector vultures that thought that serving big developers was the way that they served the community. You started to define the community in this nebulous future way that talked about footfall, that talked about money being spent, but didn't talk about the existing communities of North Kensington, because they saw the real estate and they didn't see the people. These spreadsheets didn't account for the realities of life. And all of their calculations and all of their things led to the Grenfell Tower. I can't see how those could have been a story of a life again. I don't see how it would be acceptable for people who have reneged on their duties, who have looked past human life, who literally built a death trap. And then after the death trap came to kill countless people, and by their own definition that's countless people, we can speculate about the numbers if we want. The reality of it is that that place got hotter than a crematorium, and there's a lot of people who were incinerated in the place that they were, so they won't be accounted for. We have an unknown number of undocumented people within London, and it seems that RBKC and the powers that be would happily delete those people from history than rather than create the conditions to account for their lives. There are people here that I know who lobbied from day one to make the undocumented people count, who wanted to create safe spaces, that wanted signage in the languages that were necessary, that wanted non-statutory services that didn't have the racist nativism of Theresa May's Britain accounting for them. But now what have we got? We've got a 1-year freeze, amnesty, then they're going to place them in temporary housing, know exactly where they are, and then they're going to deport them or put them to Yarswood and Harmondsworth, right? That is racist Britain. This is the very hostile environment. Theresa May said she wanted a very hostile environment. Grenfell Tower was it. And if you look at the people who were in that tower, who was it? It was predominantly Muslim, predominantly North African, predominantly the people who this state loved to villainize. But for everything they've done, for everything these lot have done, they've written their own death warrant themselves. They did what they did. They lost the right to administer life. A state bases itself on creating the conditions for life's flourishing. You pay your service charge, you pay your council tax, you pay your tax. Why? Because it's supposed to create the conditions for your life's betterment. The state failed after Grenfell. The state failed with Grenfell and then after it. So what is it that these don't base the social contract on anymore? Why is it that we should bow down to these people? We shouldn't. Not only should Robert Black go, not only should the KCTMO be dissolved, not only should Paget Brown and Field and Mellon be put on remand. We need justice and accountability for these people. We need people to go to prison, but what we need is the people who responded to the need and the duty of care for North Kensington to be in the positions where care is a statutory duty, because these that have broken the statutory duties countless times now. We don't need the litany anymore. We don't need anything else. We've got it all there. This stuff was on the public record. If you look on Ryden and the KCTMO's newsletter, they did monthly updates on what they did to Grenfell Tower. They were proud of making Grenfell Tower a death trap. We know that it was Field and Mellon's pressure put on the KCTMO that led them to change the contract from Leadbitter to Ryden. We know that if that were in another situation, that would be enough to put those guys on remand, but these lot are doing the typical thing. This is a boys' club. They do not want the boys to go to prison, so they are presiding over a vacuum in the hope that a few little changes that Campbell presiding over the council now will be enough. They're going to throw some bones. They actually have started to dip into the reserves. So the reserves have been tapped into 4 weeks after the fact, but it's poultry. And actually, they are not servicing the people. They are not asking the people who responded. They are not asking the likes of the real community or the Harrow Club what it is they need. I mean, the reality of what's happened since executive orders have come into place, since the council failed, Gold Command were activated, and now we stand in this position, we've had a consistent thing where the council or Gold Command or central government have simply failed to account for what the community are capable for or what they need. And the reality of what's needed is, I mean, it's vast. The amount of injustices that you can catalogue because of what has happened before, during, and after Grenfell means these lot have just lost the right to govern. Right? Not only have they lost the right to govern, they have no right to administer life. So why do we even give them that? But we're not here to demand it. We're here to say that actually, on the other side of that hill, the people who have accounted for life, that have shown they have a duty of care, are still doing it. And these lot can't come back in. They're scared to come back in. We have it on quite good. They're still getting paid, and they don't do anything. Right? We were outside the other day, on Ackland Village, which is essentially an autonomous space run by an aid effort. We walk outside. Council have paid people to come and do contracting work, to do surveillance, so that they can carry on because of the Gorbel Road redevelopment. They're looking at what they can do to Portobello. So while they're still presiding over a vacuum, they're still looking at how to gentrify it. They're still looking at how to make the spaces what they want. So the council still are there. The cranes are still going up, right? If you're a resident of North Kensington, if you're a resident of Latimer Road, if you look on the other side of the Westway, what do you see? You see consistent cranes, you see the extension of Westfield. And if you've got the Westway Trust and you listen to Angela McConville, what you hear of and what you see is an encroachment of Westfield all the way to Portobello, which they call Destination Westway. And it's within that redevelopment strategy that Grenfell Tower sits. It's within that redevelopment strategy linking Hammersmith and Fulham to RBKC that we can understand and put together exactly all of the projects in place. And what needs to happen, flat out, and what's being said right now in that meeting, is that they need to stop those redevelopment policies. It's a very basic thing. And what we need to do is talk about the ways in which local people can be empowered and make sure that never again a Grenfell happens. And the way you do that is to make sure that redevelopment is for the local community. Right? Let me pass it to these lot, because I think these lot have got a lot of performance for you lot.